Hello everyone, this is Dr. Sajid from JSPM Technical Campus. Uh, Today we are going to start the sixth unit of object-oriented programming, in which we will cover multi-threading, exception handling, and applets. So we will see the multi-threading, exception handling, and applets one by one. So before starting the subject, we will focus on what are the course objective of this subject. In this subject, uh, the first objective is that the student supposed to be understand the basic concept of object-oriented programming, in which, as per the SPPU University, we have the two languages. That is, first one is the C++ and second one is the Java. So our first course objective is that we supposed to be comfortable in C++ programming and Java programming. Now the second objective of this object-oriented programming is the student should acquire the ability to develop the programs for different application in C++ and Java language. So these are the two objectives we're supposed to be achieved after completion of this one. Now, along with the objectives, we have to focus on some course outcomes. In course outcome, the first one, that is uh, describe the principle of object-oriented programming. So what does it mean? It means that the student should understood the clear-cut concept of object-oriented programming, why there is need to create the object, how this object-oriented programming is beneficial as compared to other languages like C. So the first course outcome is that the student should understand the concept of object-oriented programming and they is supposed to be described it. Now the second one is the student should understand the concept of data encapsulation inheritance in C++. They cannot only understood the concept of encapsulation and inheritance, but they are supposed to be applied for the different problems. So that is the second course outcome. Now the third course outcome is that the student should understand the basic programming constructs in Java. Basic programming construct in Java means how the Java is more beneficial when we compare this with other object-oriented programming language like C++. That is the first outcome which is related to Java. The second outcome which is related to Java is that key students should apply the concept of classes, methods, and inheritance. Uh, and they can write the code by using the different classes, different methods, and inheritance. The fifth one is that which is related with the array, vector, string, and interface. Java introduced some additional classes in C++. In C++, what I mean to say is that in C++ we have some limited classes, but Java offers some additional classes. So how we can use those additional classes of arrays, vectors, and interface. Now the last outcome of this one is uh, student can develop the programs by using the Java language. Means in this course, student should at least achieve the skill set of six things which I discussed right now. Now we will see one by one. Now we will focus on the first one, that is in when we are talking about the sixth unit, we have the multi-threading, exception, and applet. So we will see one by one. The first one, that is introduction to multi-threading. So first we will understood what is thread and what do you mean by multi-threading. So these are the basic definition we have to understood it, because without understanding this definition we cannot proceed further. Once we understood what is thread and what do you mean by multi-threading, then we will focus on three things, that is how to introduce these threads in programs. Second one, how to create these threads, and how to extending this thread class. So we will see one by one. Uh, what is thread? A thread is nothing but it is the flow of execution through the process code uh, by using some program counter, or we can call it as a PC, some register and stack. So this is the general definition of thread. So in other words, what I can say, the thread is nothing but it is a small program. It is a small program, or instead of small program, what I can say, it is a part of main program. It is a part of main program. Uh, Part of main program means you have a 100 line programs, 100 lines program, and in those 100 line program, you have the different classes, different functions, different methods are there. But when you are executing that program with the help of some processor or controller, so we are not executing 100 lines at a time. Means suppose, so for example, for better understanding, I will give an example. Suppose I have a program of calculator. So in calculator, we have the different function like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So all those functions and the classes which are related to those functions are available. But when suppose I want to do the addition process. So in that addition process, I I am not executing the other functions or classes which are related to subtraction, multiplication, division, and etc. Only I need the addition process. So in such a scenario, I will take that function which are related to the addition process as a thread. Means from the calculator program, if I need addition, I will take only addition part. And in calculator, suppose I need a subtraction process, so I will take only subtraction part. So addition is a one thread, subtraction is another. If I need multiplication, then I will take only multiplication part. So if for the better understanding, what I mean to say that if I will execute the entire code of calculator, that is, suppose 100 lines are there, it consumes the huge amount of memory, it consumes the n number of registers, and ultimately the processing speed will be decreased, and the desired output will, you will get the desired output, but it will require huge amount of amount of memory, as well as the execution speed will be low. So to reduce the memory consumption and increase the speed, we will use the concept of thread. I hope it is clear what is a thread. And multi-threading means if suppose in some application, so just now we discussed about the calculator. Suppose in some application, suppose I need addition and multiplication process at a time. So from calculator program, I will pick the code which are related to addition as a one thread and for multiplication as another thread. So I have a two threads, and when I am executing these two threads simultaneously, then the concept is known as a multi-thread. So if you have the single thread, we call it as a threading. If more, if you have the more than one thread, then we will call this concept as a multi-threading. Means at a time you are executing the more than one thread. So I hope what is thread and what is multi-threading, both the things are both the things are clear. So a thread is means if you see the definition on your screen, if thread is nothing but it is a flow of execution through the process code with its own program counter and registers and stacks. Okay, the first point is clear. Now we will focus on the second one. Thread is also called a lightweight process. Thread provide a way to improve application performance through parallel parallelism. Means just now we discussed why it is called as a lightweight process, because in lightweight process we are not executing the entire code, we are executing the only desired code. So that's why if means as per the calculator example, instead of 100 lines code, if I need addition, and for suppose assume that for that addition process there is a code of 10 lines. So I will pick only that 10-line code and execute the thing, right? So that's why the execution process will become a lighter. So that's why we called it as it is a lightweight process. And parallelism means like this, I can execute the more than one thread. So that means if I am executing simultaneously two threads, three threads, so then I will call that as a parallelism. Now this is the second advantage of threading. Now third one, uh, threads represent a software approach to improve the performance. First of all, we have to understand what do you mean by improvement in performance. Normally, we will measure the performance of the device by using the two things. First one that is the execution speed, and second one that is the memory consumption, right? So how you will increase the execution speed means from the entire program you are going to pick up the only desired program and you are executing it. Means ultimately the speed will be increased. And if the less number of code is there, less number of registers are required, less number of stack registers also required. Program counter, we are using the less less amount of what I mean the memory in program counter. So that's why the overall in overall scenario the performance will be improved. Okay. Uh, okay, like this the performance will be improved. Now we'll focus on the next point. Each thread belongs to exact one process, and number of threads can exist outside a process. Means one process means process, or we can call it as an event, or we can call it as a task. Okay. So if you want to execute one process, or if you want to complete one task, or if you want to complete one event, so for that we can assign a thread. So normally we can use the n number of processes, or more than one task, or more than one events. So parallelly we can execute it. Means multi-threading is possible, multitasking is possible, and multi-processing is also possible. So along with this thread concept, you can understood. Yes, we are not only discussing about the multi-threading, but we are discussing about the multitasking as well as we are discussing about the multiprocessing. So now the things has to be clear. Now we will focus on the next point, that is each thread represent a separate flow of control. Means what I meant to say, key for each thread means when you are executing a thread, means how the thread will be executed. So first we have to understood this process. So when we are talking about the Java programming, so in Java programming, we have the thread class. So what is the first thing we are going to do? First, we will import that class into our program. So that is the first stage. Now, once we import that class into our main program, then what is the second thing we have to do? We will extend that class and we will create a thread. So that is the second step. And the third one, that is once you extend the class and even once you create the thread, what is the third thing you have to do? You have to execute the thread. That is the third thing you have to do. And once you will execute the thread, so while executing as per the number of member variables, as per the number of member function, or as per the object, it will allot the memory and it will execute the whatever arithmetic and logical processes are there. It will execute all those things. And once it will execute the things, so what is the important thing is that if we have to understood key while execution process, it will consume some amount of memory. And once the process is completed or when it will generate the desired output, still it is consuming or still it is acquired, still it is consuming the memory or still it is a what I mean to say, acquiring the different registers. So because of that, those registers or that amount of memory is not at all available for the other threads or other processes. So like this, if you are executing more number of threads and each and every thread is consuming some amount of memory, so over a period of time, there will be a consumption. Means there no memory is available for the new threads. What is the important thing is that once the thread complete its task, once the thread executed and it will generate the output, that thread has to be killed out. So that is very important thing because the killing process is very important. Or in other language in Java programming, we have the garbage cleaning function. Okay, so that you have to understood means once a thread will be executed, what you have to do, you have to kill that thread or you have to destroy that thread. Why we are going to destroy that thread? Because uh, the thread has to be release the memory, okay, which will be useful for the other threads. I think like this, the entire flow of the thread is controlled, right? Now the next point is that uh, the Java virtual machine, a thread when your program is run, called the main thread. Means just now I explained you, when you are creating a thread, this Java virtual machine called the main thread class. And you are creating thread means you are only extending the thread of that class. Or in other language, what we can say, you are creating the object from thread class, right? Now the next one, that is uh, the support to support multiple concurrent path of execution within a single process. Okay, means it will um execute whatever needed function is there, whatever desired task is there, so it will execute only that one. So these are the some important feature of thread. Means what is thread, what are the different advantages. Means if we want to summarize it, it is a small section of main program. It will improve the execution speed. It will save the memory. Multitasking is possible or multi-threading is possible. So these are the, and we have the better control on the execution process. So these are the some important points which are related to the thread. Right now, in next slide, how to create the thread. Okay, so in Java, thread can be created by extending the thread class or import or implementing the runnable interface. Means there are two things. First, you have to extend the thread class, or you can implement the runnable interface. So what is interface? We already studied. Key interface is nothing but uh, we can use the functions of another class, or simply uh, we are creating an interface and we are calling those functions in our main class, right? So these two important things means by how you are going to create the thread. First is that if by extending the thread class, that is the first thing, and second, implementing the runnable interface. The next one is that it is more prefer to implement the runnable interface so that we can extend properties from other classes. So if you want to acquire the properties of other classes, means you are acquiring the property means what? If you want to use the different member functions of another class which are not available in your class, so what you are going to do? You can implement an interface. Once you implement an interface, then those functions, those variables are which are public are available for you. Now the next one, that is the implement the run method, which is the starting point for the thread execution. Means by using the run method, you can start the actual execution process, right? So these are the points which are related to how to create the thread. This is the example of how to create the thread, how to run the thread, and how to execute the things. So in this program, we have the three classes. First one, that is the my thread. Second one, that is the main class. And the third one, what you are doing, you are extending the my thread class. And the in extended my thread class, you have the start function. Means what I mean to say that with the help of a run function, you can create the thread. You can create the thread. It is just a simple method to call a thread. Okay. Once the object of thread is created, then if you want to execute it, because without object we cannot execute the any function. So with the help of start function, we will execute the threads. So this is the example of how to create the thread, how to execute the thread, and how to call the thread. Okay, so these are the points which are related with the what is thread and what is multi-threading. I hope you will understand this, and uh, there are a number of programs which are available related to threads. So you will execute these programs. So you will understood this concept. You will understood this concept very well, and hope so. You understood this concept. Thank you. Thank you very much. In next lecture, we will discuss about some another topic. Thank you.